Hey, morning. We don't have a lot of battery left, but we'll do a little live. You think? Want to do a little live? It's time to make coffee. It's always time to make coffee. Anytime there isn't coffee, it's time to make more. So I've been a teacher in my life. I probably am a teacher, just not actively in a classroom at the moment. But I thought maybe today we could talk about education. I'm from a big city, kind of known for education. It's called Boston. And I like it here. Boston's a nice place. Oh, where you going? I attended public school for kindergarten, and then my teacher cautioned my mom that I was not safe, that our school was probably not the safest place for me. This was in the 80s in Boston, kind of in the stew racial violence war climate following busing, which was aimed at reducing the segregated nature of the school system. And when the city of Boston was ordered by the government to desegregate, they didn't comply fast enough, I guess is the story. And so um, there was
Table sugar. Huh? Oh.
Okay. A lot of racial tension, a lot of racial violence. So the kids from certain neighborhoods were bused to other neighborhoods, predominantly white neighborhoods, predominantly black neighborhoods, and there was a lot of strife and violence in response, sadly. And yeah, so that was a bummer. It was really like a push on the big oil, really, because the buses, of course, now chug lug all over the city, driving people here to and fro, away from their homes and neighborhood schools and all over the city. So it's kind of a mess. But the big oil makes money. So I think that's the scam. Also, it's a stimulus for the suburbs, because all the two-parent families or people with money, anyone who is able to rehomed themselves and their families to the suburbs for safety. And that's still what happens essentially. People will stay in the city. A lot of like the yuppies and the gentrifiers, they move in and they put their kids in private school. So there's still a lot of Catholic schools, and there's some charters, but those are kind of been diluted, I would say. Charters held a lot of hope. Their charter schools were supposed to be like trial concepts for and then the idea being that what was found to be successful would then be distributed more widely among the public school system. They were meant to be testing grounds for revolutionary and educational concepts. I think over time they've been diluted or yeah, just kind of become another problem. Or they do meet a need, of course, and so now everyone sort of vies if they're going to stay in the city. They compete for space in the charter schools, which is generally a lottery system, and um, but then they also don't have to sort of meet the needs of all the students necessarily, depending on their policies. But because they're not private, though they can, you know, kick kids out if they're struggling or don't go to school, if they have learning disabilities, things like that. So it sort of can become an environment where we've already pre-filtered for kids whose parents are functional enough to apply. Hi, thank you for hanging out. How you doing? Welcome. Um, and uh, yeah, so everyone who stays in the city and doesn't flee for the suburbs are competing for space in the charter schools, essentially, because they're free and the Catholic school costs money. Uh, and the public schools are still kind of a mess, and your kid might very well be sent to the other side of the city, which people don't really want, or I didn't as a parent. Uh, so it's complicated. So I attended 12 years of private school and then got a college degree. And I worked as a camp counselor and an after school enrichment director. Um, um, what else? And as a well, babysitting from the time of like the ripe old age of 11 or so. But then I was in the classroom full time teaching sixth grade as the homeroom teacher and co-teaching with the fifth grade and operating a science lab for the whole school, which was a K through six experience. So that was really a, a good time. It was a lot of learning. It's the point of education. So I did learn a lot, and I had a lot of freedom, and not a lot of, which I appreciated. Um, I had a lot of flexibility. So my sixth grade class that year was very small, so we went on a lot of adventures. I was able to do like custom. Um, I was able to educate in a sort of custom way because it was such a small group, and they were all, you know, pretty cooperative and enthusiastic about learning. So we had a good time. I took them on a lot of field trips. We went to MIT, to something that was called the Toy Lab, um, which kind of actually isn't or wasn't at the time still fully functioning as a toy lab. But we had a nice visit where the kids were able to play with some scientific equipment, computers, and they showed us some of the engineering students showed us some of their new creations. Um, and like a portable loom, I remember being really cool at the time. It was mechanical. It was a lot of fun. Took them on a whale watch. We did service projects. We planted seagrass on the Boston Harbor Islands, and we visited a place called the Boston Home, um, where people who are wheelchair bound um, live. So we hung out with them, and the kids brought art. We brought butterflies that all the kids in the elementary school created, and the sixth graders delivered those and hung out in the cafeteria and went room to room and learned about the wheelchairs and their mechanical operations and stuff. Um, we had a really good time. I took them on bike rides to do field work. We did a lot of pretty, you know, we started a garden and had a end of the year family classroom salad. Um, love those skills are really important. Learning to grow things, like it's really healthy for kids to get their hands in the dirt. Uh, And I think hopefully the educational model will be moving that way. And I think in a lot of places it does. That's pretty common now where kids are having time and working with their hands and um, working in gardens and playing with dirt, which is healthy and important. I explored, I keep saying, I'm so sorry. And we try not to do that so often. As a parent, I sampled probably 20, 20 different preschools and search such in the area. I feel like I have like a pretty, I've done an abundant amount of research as far as, because I've been at this parenting thing for 20 years, 22 years now. And, I don't know, what am I getting at? Dishes, coffee, education. Uh, teaching to the test is terrible. That's a failed thing we shouldn't be doing anymore. We leave no child behind, which is like every child, we actually leave every child behind many times in a lot of ways. And many of the children are left behind by the current model because the schools, when they demonstrate a need with low test scores, are actually rewarded with less funding. So we do it kind of backwards for sure around here in this country. And we limit access to opportunity. We really do. We make these things just inaccessible, so that you have to have money and parents and a car and everything's just out of reach, instead of making things abundantly publicly available to the masses. It seems like every little opportunity becomes a carrot on the end of a stick, available only to the wealthy, like the tutoring centers and the extracurriculars and the you have to get in your car and you have to drive, and that's if you're a kid in the city, you already spent an hour each way going to and from school, sitting on a bus probably. That's not time spent enriching, playing sports, being outside, having healthy social relationships. That's being a commuter trapped in a car chugging gas. You're not playing sports, you're not getting outside. When I was in the classroom most recently, a couple of years ago at a school, with a elementary school that I attended, it was heartbreaking for me that the kids didn't have more time outside. And they had no sun. Even when they went outside, their playground received no sunlight. It was in the shade. And there was not a speck of dirt. They had ground tires on the playground. And not like in the slightly cushier suburb where I had been living, where they pour it and fix it and they put down the surface. This was just ground tires, like loose. So the kids would go out to play in their white uniform shirts and come back in black and dingy because they were literally playing in old ground up tires, um, which still doesn't sit right with me. Um, Generally, I think we can do better by humans. We could stop force feeding plastic. We could stop forcing everyone by design to sit in their cars all day or ride on buses all day. We could foster after school programs and parental engagement and healthier communities. We could use the schools as a heart, a center. Um, but I think the modus operandi is isolation for the powers that be. So I think they make more money the more they keep us all separated, apart, chugging in our cars. We're paying by the mile, right? You pay by the mile for the gas, and with your time, you're alone. You're in your car. It makes you vulnerable, more likely to spend money because you're sad. Everybody is sad. Nobody has a moment's rest. We're just very, very, very busy. We are kept very, very busy. I often think of the meme that explains how peasants in the Middle Ages had more time off than Americans because they it was important, you know. Even the feudal lords acknowledged that a little bit of rest was important. If they didn't want their slaves to die, now they don't care if the slaves die. They have more. They'll just make more. Um, but I like coffee. Oh, and I'm an environmental scientist, so I really love teaching kids about repurposing, recycling, um, and art. We we like to make things. I'm a really strong proponent of art. I I didn't always make art. I thought I didn't think I was an artist. I knew some people are, and I like art, but I didn't consider myself an artist. But now I do, and I consider everyone an artist, and I think whatever you make with your hands and your heart is your art. And we all have art in us. And your hand is your connection to God. So when you practice, use your hand, get practiced at anything. Because we're 10,000 hours from becoming an expert at something. And you begin everything at the beginning with your hand. And that's all education is, right? It's picking up something at the beginning of 10,000 hours. And at the end of that, you ideally are an expert in something that you enjoy and you're good at and that you contribute well to your society and your community, and you feel good because you're succeeding at what you're good at. What we don't do quite often or often enough is identify talents and skills and then foster and encourage those abilities. We don't look for skills. We don't look for talent. We do a lot of like sit down, be quiet, regurgitate this date that's arbitrary. I never liked it, I have to say it. I just didn't enjoy school as a student. I didn't really succeed much until until college. I'm not dumb. I just really thought the whole thing was lame. And it is. It's like the teachers were mean. They were giving us like no information. They weren't being paid anything. I now know. Like, how do you not pay your teachers? What kind of, you know, how can you expect to succeed as a society if you're not investing in your teachers? I don't think the expectation is that we succeed. I think the expectation is that the people who can afford private schools and elite opportunities and who begin their training regimens to become elite at this or that, but the system's designed to serve them and not everyone. And what's frustrating is that they don't need help. They don't need the help. Those rich kids are not the ones who need education, who need public education to be robust and fair. I'm not a religious person, but I think I have religious like feelings for the public sector. I really have a religious appreciation for a library. I have a religious like appreciation for the concept of public education. not as it currently functions, but I really firmly believe that public education is a beautiful thing. I don't know. I'm an American and I'm sad. It's really painful to be alive here as a woman and a mother. This experience has been brutal. Because I have opinions, because I'm a woman, because I'm to this or to that, I've been punished. Punished by my state, punished by the powers that be. I actually don't even know where the camera is on this. Where is the camera? I always thought it was up there, but I don't think that's right. Maybe it's down there. Could it be? No. I don't know. Anyway, I love teaching, working with kids. Kids are amazing, and they deserve access to opportunity and to paths to success. I really wish our government and state would stop stripping those things away and making them pay to play. Not everything is meant to be pay to play. We're supposed to be taking care of our citizenry, of our humans, of our kids, our people. I mean, what are we doing? You have so much money. How can you spend trillions on endless war and your kids don't have peace and your elderly are not safe and you have unhoused and you have housing stock that you sit and rot and you have a war against your citizens for profit. It's really painful to live through this and I don't enjoy it and I'm annoyed. I wish we could have peace. I wish we could have functional government. And I wish we could be doing the right thing by humanity. Sick of doing the wrong thing by humanity on a massive scale without end. Why are we doing that? Why is that being allowed? Citizens united is citizens divided. That is all the big money buying our government, buying elections, completely unbridled, unchecked, and got us where we are with big oil and predator in chief and World War III. Because some perv doesn't want to go to jail where he should be. I don't know, I call it a failed model. I think we can do better. I know we can. In this like brief season in the 90s, it was awesome. Everyone was like rollerblading, being progressive, racially tolerant. It was a brief window, I'm telling you, but I swear it was there. We were getting somewhere. We've been slipping back ever since, but maybe we can get close again sometime. I mean, there's places in the world that evolve. It's not like a given that you have to like devolve. We didn't, that's like an option. We're choosing. We could choose not to devolve. We could choose to evolve. I mean, there's two options. One of them is dumb. Anyway, I love you. Have a great day.